A very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us the ISAS panel discussion titled Road to 2024 Elections in 5 Indian States. The panel will discuss the intricacies of the election results in 5 Indian states, which were announced on 3rd and 4th December, and will further analyze the implications of the verdict for the 2024 general elections. Today, we are delighted to have with us the following panelists: Professor K.K. Kailash, Professor of Political Science, University of Hyderabad; Dr. C.V. Lalwalswamy, Political Analyst and Researcher; Dr. Rahul Verma, Fellow at the Center for Policy Research and Visiting Assistant Professor, Shoka University; Dr. Neelam Pandey, Senior Associate Editor at The Print. The session will be chaired by Dr. Ronojoy Sen, who is a Senior Research Fellow and a Research Lead at the Institute of South Asian Studies at National University of Singapore. Today's session will be live streamed on the ISAS Facebook page. And now I should invite Dr. Sen to commence the panel discussion, please.
Thank you, Raghav. Very warm welcome to the discussion on the recent assembly elections in 5 states. We have an excellent panel to discuss the results, so I'll keep my opening remarks short. The BJP's convincing victories in Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, and Rajasthan, all of which were bipolar contests with the Congress, underline the dominance of the party in the Hindi belt. For the Congress, the sole bright spot was Telangana, where it wrested power from the Bharat Rashtra Samithi (BRS), which had governed the state for 2 successive terms. In Mizoram, voters rejected established parties by giving a clear majority to the Zoram People's Movement, or the ZPM, and relegating the ruling Mizo National Front to a distant second place. The results in the 4 states, leaving aside Rajasthan, which has a habit of voting out incumbents, had an element of surprise, and none more so than Madhya Pradesh, where the BJP was a multiple-term incumbent and the electoral contest was expected to be close. However, the predictions proved to be way off the mark, with the BJP winning by a huge margin, 164 out of 230 seats, and with nearly 50% of the vote share. The Congress was decimated, winning 65 seats and 40% of the vote share. Some of the factors behind the BJP's resounding win have been in evidence in other states too. The party's well-oiled and very well-funded election machinery, a broad coalition of voters, targeted welfare schemes such as direct cash transfers to women, creating a class of Lamarthi or beneficiary voters who identified with Chief Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi's personal popularity, or what was being touted as Modi ki guarantee, in the absence of a BJP chief ministerial face. One of the outcomes of this outreach was that a majority of women voters voted for the BJP, tilting the balance in the party's favor. The Congress, in contrast, ran a lackluster campaign with party veteran Kamal Nath, who's neither charismatic nor popular, as its chief ministerial face. In Chhattisgarh and Rajasthan, it was the Congress that was in power, but failed to drive home the advantage of incumbency. Indeed, the Congress has an abysmal record of winning elections as an incumbent. I think the last time they did so was in 2013 in Meghalaya. One of the factors that went against the Congress and Baghel was the anger of the Adivasi voters, who comprise roughly a third of Chhattisgarh's population. Of the 29 seats, in fact, reserved for the scheduled tribes or ST, the BJP won 17 seats, up from 3 in 2019, while the Congress fell quite dramatically from 25 to 11. In Rajasthan, where the Congress was not really expected to win, it actually did not do too badly. This was reflected in the Congress's vote share of 40%, which was just about 2 percentage points less than the BJP's, but translated to a 46-seat lead for the BJP. Former Chief Minister Ashok Gehlot was personally quite popular, ground reports seem to suggest, as were his welfare schemes, but he came up against the revolving door politics of the state. Also, factionalism within the party, especially the rival power center around the younger Sachin Pilot, also took its toll. Amid the catastrophic results for the Congress in North India, the party's remarkable performance in Telangana, where it won a majority with 64 out of 119 seats, has been somewhat eclipsed. The Congress engineered a turnaround in Telangana with a jump of 11% in vote share and 45 seats compared to 2018, with the ruling BRS seeing a corresponding decline of around 10% and 49 seats. One of the factors behind the verdict was possibly the perception of the BRS as corrupt, and an inability to reach its welfare schemes to many voters, the Congress not only played up this perception, but also put together a winning social coalition under the leadership of Revanth Reddy, who has since been appointed Chief Minister of Telangana. The results in North India put the BJP in a strong position for the 2024 general elections. In the three states of Rajasthan, MP, and Chhattisgarh, the BJP in 2019 had won 65 out of 68 seats in direct sort of face-to-face contests with the Congress, despite actually having performed poorly in the preceding 2018 assembly elections. This time around, the BJP is, of course, on a stronger wicket. The results also underscore the north-south divide in Indian politics, with the BJP dominant in the Hindi belt, but unable to make significant inroads into South India. The Congress win in Telangana was its second victory in 2023 in South India after Karnataka. And the BJP is currently not in power in any of the southern states. However, the Congress's setbacks in the north have dealt a blow to opposition unity and undermined the party's claim to be the axis of the Indian Development Inclusive Alliance, or India, as it's better known. So with that, I will turn over the floor to Professor K.K. Kailash. I won't introduce the panelists individually. You already have their bio. Each panelist will speak for 10 to 12 minutes each, followed hopefully by a freewheeling discussion. You can send in your questions via the chat function, and we will try and address as many of them as we can. Over to you, Kailash.
Yeah. Thank you, ISAS and Ranjay, for having me here for this event. So I'll speak on the issue of Telangana, and I'll limit myself to 3 or 4 points which I think are significant. You have already laid down the broad basis on which, or the numbers, you've already told us what it is. So I think what we should think about when it comes to Telangana is, while it is seen as a victory of the Congress, I think we need to look at what has happened to the BRS. It's a loss actually for the BRS more than a victory for the Congress. So one of the first issues I think we should consider when looking at this electoral shift that has happened in the state of Telangana is that legacies of a state and roles that parties sort of claim to have with respect to a state, I think can help only so much and not more than that. The TRS has constantly been claiming for the past, say, a decade or so, that it has created this new state of Telangana. It has sacrificed people for this, and it is the result of its struggle that the state has been formed. However, over the last decade, one sees a significant movement away from the ethos of the movement, from what that movement stood for. And I will just focus on 3 issues here with regard to the movement. First is that the movement itself, if you remember, was a movement for a more equitable regional development plan. So the idea was that the Telangana region was undeveloped and was being exploited by the other side. And therefore, now once Telangana is formed, you would have more equitable development there. However, when you look at what has happened in Telangana over the last 10 years, you see that inter-regional disparities, and in terms of whether it's in terms of economic development or in terms of social indicators, have actually remained the same. So, and particular sections of society have actually vastly benefited from over the period, and this has actually led to questions again about what has happened to equitable development. Now, the TRS has succeeded in claiming in terms of protection of culture, in protection of the local identity, and so on and so forth. This has been a relatively easier thing for the party to do, and therefore has claimed great success in this. So you would have the government constantly sort of celebrating Telangana festivals, Telangana culture, etc. is given a lot of importance. However, when it comes to the sub-regional development patterns, we don't see any change that has happened since the inauguration of the TRS government. If you look at the results also, this actually comes out starkly. You look at where the BRS has won, and you would see that it's concentrated around Hyderabad, Rangareddy district. So if you look at the map of Telangana, it's a blob of pink in the middle with blue around. So assume that's the Congress all around it. So you see that the Hyderabad and the Rangared districts actually have greatly benefited from infrastructure development in terms of, say, the roads have been better, there's assured power supply that is there, in terms of flyovers that have been constructed over the years. So great deal of development has taken place, and in fact this particular region has actually, you consolidate the existing strength both financially and in terms of economic strength, this region has gone forward. Other regions of the state have not seen comparable development indicators, and we also see that in this context, there has been some sort of an unhappiness that comes up in other regions of the state. Now, again, the second issue that I think we should flag is that a legacy is not a monopoly of a particular party or of a particular individual. This has been a process of a people who have been involved. It's been a long moment. It's been a long struggle. There have been different streams of people who have been involved in this moment. Now, over the last 10 years, what you see is that key actors of the movement have been sidelined. Now, these actors, I think, were probably more committed to the vision of a Telangana, what they wanted to see in new Telangana. And with them being sidelined, their issues also get sidelined. And what you see is that this gave space for new civil society actors, civil society organizations to take up those unfulfilled causes. Now, coming back to the issue of, say, uneven development or equitable development that the BRS promised, let's just take one of their welfare schemes, that the whole Right to Bandhu scheme, which the BRS has been flagging time and again, and actually has been its claim to talk of, say, a farmers' society tomorrow, or farmers' rule, Kisan rule tomorrow, etc. And this is what has given it the strength to sort of move into, say, Maharashtra and compete there. So this Right to Bandhu scheme actually then benefits landowners. And when civil society organizations have actually studied, you find that it neglects tenant farmers, it neglects agricultural laborer who actually require money for cultivation. Now, here is landowners who have no connection with it, who only have the land records there, who benefit from this cash transfer that takes place from the government. So this actually then leads to further inequality in the society between the landless, the tenant farmers, and the already landed people. So the sentiments that were there, I think, of a better Telangana, better life for most people, I don't think that has been fulfilled. So you also can't keep constantly keeping the state in its portions of the state in neglect and then sort of build on that legacy or talk of the sentiment of a Telangana. I think this is where it helped the Congress sort of cash on. So the Congress has been able to cash on these unhappiness that is there in the Telangana society, especially in the rural areas and especially in regions outside Hyderabad. The third issue, which I think I do not have an answer, we could talk about voter satisfaction with government, and I think surveys also show about how people have benefited from welfare schemes and in which direction vote goes. Now, one should be careful with this sort of an analysis in asking whether voters are choosing a particular government through the lens of a party. So is it the party choice that makes them decide whether a government is doing well or whether they have received benefits or not? So I think we need to be a little bit careful when doing this analysis, because you find this happening in state after state. The second issue here, I think one caution would be that voters punish incumbents for poor services, for poor governance. But I think it is also irrational to sort of expect that they expect successors will perform better. So I don't see any reasonable sort of explanation or expectation why voters should actually shift from voters will shift, but why they should expect the next government to actually do any better. Now, this brings me to the last point, which I thought I should make, is that previous studies on the Indian voter have shown that Indian voter is basically a pocketbook voter. He's basically looking at whether a particular government is going to benefit him or her financially. Now, if you look at the whole welfare schemes that are being rolled out, I think it's just targeting this notion of the Indian voter who is concerned about the financial benefits or financial gains that are likely to come. So the issues of corruption, issues of poor delivery of services, etc., are all linked to this pocketbook concerns that the citizens have. Now, the Congress has, as I said, pulled on to this, has basically topped up a couple of those schemes, has sort of made good the inequities that exist when it comes to the earlier that land, the Raitu Bandhu scheme, and is sort of been able to overdo the BRS. So I don't think it is a sentiment actually in favor of the Congress, but it's more of a loss for the BRS. And the last point with regard to the BJP has done remarkably well. When you look at what happened in 2018 with one seat and with around, I think, 7% votes, today it has 8 seats and nearly 14% of the votes. So this, I think, is a significant movement for the BJP. And the BJP also, if you remember, did well in the 2019 Lok Sabha elections as well. So I think there would be some sort of a shift to the BJP. I expect in the Lok Sabha election, the BJP is probably likely to do much better than what we see in what we have seen right now. I think I'll stop here. These are my initial points.
Thanks, Kailash, for that very succinct summary of the Telangana result and also for keeping well within the time. So can we now move to Dr. Lalmal Swami and ask her to shed some light on the results in Mizoram? Please.
Thank you. I think, should I use the video or should I stop it?
As of now, it seems okay. If it's
okay,
giving problems, then I'll let you know. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. That's great. So first of all, thank you so much for bringing me on board to today's discussion. And I'm delighted to be a part of this discussion along with my distinguished co-panelist. And as we know, the recent election to the Mizoram State Legislative Assembly has made quite news because of the changes that we have seen in the electoral dynamics, and the fact that another regional party aside from the incumbent MNF has bulldozed its way into power. And so this has quite made the headlines, and I'm sure like many of us here might have already seen many analyses on this. So, but just to recap a little, in the 9th Legislative Assembly election, so there were 3 main parties.
I think your voice is breaking, so maybe you can just switch off the camera. Might be easier. Yeah.
So is it clearer now?
It's a bit better now. Yeah.
Is it clearer now?
But your visual, I think it's better now.
It's a bit better. Okay.
Without the camera. Thanks.
Better. All right. Yeah. My voice is coming through, right?
Yeah, it is. Thank you.
Okay. So just to recap, the 9th Legislative Assembly election to Mizoram, and the vote counting was supposed to be held on 3rd December along with the 4 other states that went to polls. But then due to protests about vote counting, which is very much a political affair being conducted on a Sunday, which is in a sense a day of worship and rest in the Christian majority states. So the civil society organizations and the church and NGO bodies made several appeals to the ECI to shift the date to a different date, a more suitable date. And in the last minute, the ECI revised the date to Monday. So therefore, we have Mizoram's election result as the last to be declared amongst the 5 states that went to polls in the recent November elections. So there are many interesting developments and many new trends and patterns that have emerged in this new election. The most prominent being the the emergence of another regional party, a locally grown regional party. to challenge the incumbent MNF government led by Zoram Thanga. So this is, the Zoram People's Movement is a very young party in Mizoram's electoral history. It was formed in 2017, and it's an alliance of 6 small regional parties that have not been able to pose any major challenge to the two major parties in Mizoram, the Congress and the MNF. Just to give an insight into this, Mizoram gained statehood in 1987, and since then, the state electoral power has been alternated between 2 major parties, the Congress and the MNF. And the outgoing Chief Minister Zoram Thanga, he is the leader of MNF, and MNF has a long history of Mizo nationalism movement, which began not in the 1960s as most research and analysis have mentioned, but in fact the MNF has its origin in the late 1950s, during a time when Mizoram was in a very difficult state due to a very severe maritime famine. And then since then, it stepped up to help in the relief efforts of the people of Mizoram at the time, virtually cut off from the rest of India. And so the MNF started their movement, underground movement, to secede from India in 1966, when they declared the Operation Jericho. I will not go into details about this, but then a 20 years long armed struggle was staged against the state of India. And then it was in 1986 that the memorandum of settlement was signed between the MNF leader Pulal Denga and the central government. And later on, you can say because of Pulal Denga's very short life, Zoram Thanga, took the reins of the MNF leadership, and he became the chief ministerial candidate and the de facto leader of the MNF since then. So it has been felt in Mizoram for quite a long time that there is a need for an alternative party, a third alternative aside from the Congress and the MNF, because of many factors. So the MNF won a landslide victory back in 2018. And it has been a tradition in Mizoram that a party in power has been able to run successfully for a second term. So I think there was a level of complacency in the leadership of the MNF also in the run-up to the 2023 elections, even though the ZPM wave has already began from 2018, and especially in 2018, the ZPM was still not a registered political party, but they backed independent candidates. So true independent candidates, they won 8 seats in the Legislative Assembly, and they were able to be a part of the opposition. And in 2023, fast forward to 2023, many things have drastically changed. In April of this year, for example, in the first municipal council election in Lunglei, which is, by the way, my hometown, the ZPM, made a very solid victory, and I think that has given a real boost to their election prospects for the November election, and it was quite a surprising setback for the incumbent government. And I think their complacency might have been shattered. So there are many policy failures of the MNF, apart from the political fatigue of the new age voters and the new generation Mizo voters, especially the first time voters and the younger voters, as well as the growing ZPM's appeal in the urban areas and amongst the urban educated middle class, which has sort of spread to the rural areas as well because of the widespread penetration of internet and smartphone and the use of social media. And quite, one interesting aspect of Mizoram is that unlike other northeastern states, Mizoram is a very monolingual state. it's a Mizo-speaking state. So that has helped, disseminate vernacular political ideas and thoughts, and very vibrant, exchange of political thoughts and ideas amongst the youth and amongst the middle class social media users as well as the intelligentsia. So this has also sort of like shaped political culture, in many ways. And so and of course, the homogeneous demography of Mizoram itself, despite the existence of some smaller minority groups like the Chakma and the Bru, who are not, by default Mizo speaking, they have their own languages, and also. I'm not going point by point, but I'll just try to recap everything in a, encapsulate the main highlights of the election. So coming back to the election results, I just want to mention that like the three major parties, the ZPM, MNF, and the Congress, contested the election in all the 40 seats, whereas the BJP, which has made an inroads in 2018 with one seat, secured in a minority area in the south, has also ramped up its campaign and especially focusing on the minority pockets, tried to secure more seats, and they were quite hopeful. But funnily enough, their star campaigner, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, failed to visit the state after some solid criticisms from different sections, and because of his failure to resolve Manipur crisis and the long shadow of Manipur crisis in Mizoram in many ways, which the MNF, by the way, has tried to leverage to its advantage. But the interesting thing is Mizoram is it's unique in a sense. It has its own electoral dynamics, and because Manipur crisis, for example, it erupted on 3rd May, whereas this long-standing desire for change and aspirational change amongst the youth, it has been going on for many years. And I feel that the ZPM's victory in this election, while it is to do with anti-incumbency and also to some extent anti-Zoram Thanga, because people vote for the party. One pattern that I've noticed is that people vote not for the individual candidates, because the MNF and the Congress also had many good, very efficient leaders who deliver in their own constituencies, incumbent MLAs, but who are dethroned by the young novice first-time candidates from ZPM. So it has become clear that the people of Mizoram voted for ZPM as a party under the leadership of Pulal Duoma, who is seen as capable, and also because of Pulal Duoma's own political profile. He has been in the political scene for 39 years, according to him, and also I mean that's a fact, because he was a parliamentarian in 1984, and he was also in the security detail of ex-Prime Minister Indira Gandhi when he was the IPS. And he, later on, he's an IPS turned politician, and he has been, struggling and campaigning for his political cause for a clean governance and efficient administration. In fact, a paradigm shift in the way things are, and so he is, I think, the biggest factor for ZPM's rise in Mizoram, and because much of the voters' opinions that I could notice on the ground is that if we vote for an MNF candidate, they are under Mizoram Thanga, who is at the top, is important. So, so that therefore, if we vote for a ZPM candidate, even slightly, for example, like we have one Rajya Sabha MP, Puvanal Vena, who has quite in the limelight, for during the Mizoram Assam border clash that erupted, in 2020, and he has been very vocal in the parliament, and he is, a very celebrated parliamentarian. But even he failed to win on MNF ticket against a lesser-known candidate from ZPM. So it shows that people are voting, and Mizoram Thanga has also lost to a lesser-known lesser known candidate from ZPM. So yeah, I mean, just to wrap up, so there are many interesting aspects to it, which I'm sure we can discuss more. But yeah, I mean, ZPM is now set to form a majority government. For the first time, there will be a non-MNF, non-Congress, party to form power in the state of Mizoram, and hopes are, there are high expectations in the way how ZPM is trying to bring about change and to deliver their promise in the Kalpungthar Mipui Sarkar, a new system that works for the people, a government that works for the people. So yeah, I'll end my introductory remarks there. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Swamy, for laying the ground for these ZPM's quite remarkable victory, being such a young party, as you mentioned. So we'll switch the order a little bit for what was there in the program, and now ask Dr. Neelam Pandey to speak on Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh, where both states where she was very much sort of reporting on the election campaign from the ground. So over to you, Neelam.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ranjoy Singh, for inviting me to share my views. Hello, everyone, all the panelists, as well as those who are watching it. I would like to start my analysis by, as Dr. Ranjoy Singh already informed you, that I visited Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh as part of my election coverage. However, I was also reporting on Chhattisgarh. I cover, as part of my organization, I cover the Bharatiya Janata Party and, its activities, all that it does. I report on that. I write about the Bharatiya Janata Party as far as elections are covered and day-to-day activities. Well, to begin with, I would like to remind everyone that, on August 17, I would like to take you back to August 17. This is almost 3 months before elections were announced for 3 months before elections took place in Madhya Pradesh. The BJP had already come up with its first list of candidates. And these were those seats that the BJP had lost in the previous elections, which is 2018. At the same time, this was a list of 39 candidates. In September, it came up with a second list for Madhya Pradesh. Again, these were those seats which the BJP had lost. So this, in a way, sets the tone of the campaign as far as the BJP is concerned. It was aware that there was anti-incumbency in Madhya Pradesh. The Chief Minister, Shivraj Singh Chauhan, has been the CM for the past 18 years, barring the 11-15 months of the Kamal Nath government. There was voter fatigue, and this is something that, as per their analysis, they had understood. And for this, now I would like to divide my analysis in 5 different areas. First being announcing tickets earlier, while at the same time Congress, which everyone, at least since till June, everyone felt that the campaign that was there, launched by the Congress, it was setting the tone for the Congress to for it to come to power as far as these elections are concerned. But at the same time, they were not in tandem. The central leadership as well as the state leadership, they were not in tandem. At the same time, the choice of chief minister, while the BJP decided to go for collective leadership, not only for Madhya Pradesh, but for Rajasthan also. Why? Because they realized there was voter fatigue, there was anti-incumbency. And at the same time, it also tells all these senior leaders that any one of them could become the chief minister. So all their workers, all the supporters of these senior leaders, they ensure that they give their 100%. As far as the Congress is concerned, while the BJP had pitted collective leadership, focusing on Prime Minister Narendra Modi, they had decided to rely on Mr. Kamal Nath. Well, Mr. Kamal Nath is not, in terms of experience, of course, he's a very experienced leader. But as far as Madhya Pradesh is concerned, we have a lot of youth. We have, voters looking for young faces, a generational shift that the BJP has also been talking about. So in that sense, Kamal Nath, a lot of Congress leaders now say was not a good choice in terms of the entire campaign resting on his shoulders. If you look at the posters that were put up by the BJP and the Congress, Kamal Nath was the only leader While as far as BJP is concerned, apart from Prime Minister Narendra Modi, you had 11 other leaders, including Jyotiraditya Scindia, Prahlad Singh Patel, Shivraj Singh Chauhan, and now it is emerging that the BJP wants to go for a generational shift as far as Madhya Pradesh is concerned, and it might even go for a new phase. That is as far as announcing tickets earlier is concerned. I'd just like to delve a little more on that. That out of these 39 seats that the BJP declared the tickets for in August, they have won 26 of those seats. The Congress could only retain 13 of those seats. At the same time, out of these 39 seats, 13 are ST seats, scheduled tribe, those which are in a way designated for the ST community. At the same time, there are 7 scheduled caste seats among the reserved seats that the BJP won. At the same time, if you look at the 39 other seats that were designated by the party as ambitious assembly seat, it went on to win a large number of those seats also. At the same time, the BJP decided to field its senior leaders in Madhya Pradesh, including in Rajasthan and Chhattisgarh also, but I would like to first talk about Madhya Pradesh. All of these leaders were reflecting different regions, different aspirations. Out of the 21 MPs who were fielded by the BJP, 12 won the seats. But the BJP says it's not just about 12 winning these seats, it's also about how they have fared in those regions. So for instance, Kailash Vijaywargiya, who won from Indore, is a tall leader. He has been working in Madhya Pradesh for quite some time. His son was an MLA. This time he was not fielded, but Kailash Vijaywargiya was given the command. Initially, he was reluctant. He said, this is not my age to go, from place to place asking for votes. But the party was quite clear that they wanted senior leadership to show them the way. And at the same time, this would become easier for the party to be united, because no one is going to oppose Kailash Vijaywargiya contesting an election from a seat which the party had anyway not won in 2018. Apart from this, the Union Home Minister Amit Shah. If you look at how the BJP's organizational strength is something which Ranjoy Sen has already talked about, but how Amit Shah ensured that right from May onwards, he started visiting the state multiple times. The state was in a state of disarray. As far as if you look at Shivraj Singh Chauhan and the state unit president of the BJP, V.D. Sharma, it is often said that they could never be on the same page. And this was hampering the government and the party coming together ahead of the elections, because there are a lot of schemes that have to be highlighted by the state unit, the BJP. Amit Shah held several meetings, and he talked about the fact that everyone has to be on the same seat, everyone has to be on the same table. At the same time, Amit Shah also said that the Jan Ashirwad Yatra, which was something that Shivraj Singh Chauhan used to be the face of, he ensured that he said this is going to be a collective effort again. He was able to, in a way, have Shivraj Singh Chauhan agree to the idea of a collective leadership. There was not even a single interview or any statement by Shivraj Singh Chauhan where he said that he was upset because of the collective leadership decision that the party decided for. Apart from this, as far as Rajasthan is concerned, many were expecting that Rajasthan's result, which has come up, would be something that the Madhya Pradesh has in a way given to us today. But in Rajasthan also, the party was facing a lot of discontent. The senior leadership had again started holding meetings there also. Vasundhara Raje, who has been the chief minister of the state for 2 terms, was not attending a lot of meetings, was not happy with the way the state unit was functioning. But despite all this, a decision was once again taken to have senior BJP leaders, including sitting MPs like Rajyavardhan Rathore, Diya Singh, to contest these elections and give again a message to the people, to the BJP workers, that the party was very serious about these elections. Right till the end, Rajasthan is one state where the party was the last to come up with the list of candidates, because till the very end, they were not able to bring everyone on board. However, now that the results have come, what are the 5 things that that they concentrated on as far as Rajasthan is concerned? Apart from the anti-incumbency factor, the Mahila factor was another important issue in Rajasthan as well as in Madhya Pradesh. I mean, there are many who are saying that in Madhya Pradesh, the BJP's victory could be attributed to the 3 M's. The 3 M's being Modi, Mama, and Mahila. And why they are saying this, and apart from this, the fractured Congress campaign, and why they are saying this, because in these elections, we saw Prime Minister Narendra Modi leading from the front. He held a number of rallies in Madhya Pradesh as well as Rajasthan. He did roadshows just days before polling in Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh. As far as Shivraj Singh Chauhan is concerned, he held almost over 160 rallies despite not being the chief ministerial candidate of the party. However, he, as the soldier of the party, as BJP leaders say, he continued coming up with his welfare schemes. Ladli Behna is something that everyone has talked about, but when I met people there, when I met these women, and Congress had also guaranteed something similar. It has said that if voted to power, it would give rupees 1,500 to all eligible women. So why is it that women voters voted for the BJP, whereas the Congress had also promised something similar? Well, women said this is something that was already in their hand. This is something that they had already started getting. So why would they go for something which has been promised when they already have this in their hands? Mahila voters, again, is something that a lot of people have talked about, that how the Rajasthan and the Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh victory could be attributed to them. Well, I would say that Mahila was one of the factors. It could not be the only factor as far as Madhya Pradesh is concerned, because I feel that and now that the data is there, tribal voters really helped the BJP. If we look at, for instance, Chhattisgarh, I mean, I know I was talking more about Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh, but I'll just give you an example that it is often, it is said that whoever wins Bastar goes on to form the government in Chhattisgarh. This time, last time Congress had won 11 of these seats out of 12. BJP this time managed to win 8. Similarly, in Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan also, the BJP did quite well. If you look at the Malwa Nirmal region, which also has a few tribal seats, the BJP has won 48 seats out of 66. So what is it that, why did the tribal voters vote for the BJP? I mean, apart from the fact that during the Uniform Civil Code, there was a discussion that the tribals were uncomfortable but with the Uniform Civil Code, the BJP and the RSS, they were quick to reach out to these people. They said that nothing will be done without their agreement. So this is something that was put in the cold storage. Apart from this, you have a lot of residential schools that were opened up for the tribal community. And apart from this, in Madhya Pradesh, the PISA, the act, the implementation of that is something that the tribal community was happy about. So I would say that all these factors helped the BJP in Madhya Pradesh, in Rajasthan, as well as Chhattisgarh. And now that they have won Chhattisgarh also, the kind of faith that the tribal voters have reposed in the party, they're now thinking of having a tribal face as far as Chhattisgarh is concerned, who could lead the BJP. And one of the names that is doing the round is that of Renuka Singh, who was an MP and was asked to contest these assembly elections by the BJP. So I would like to say that as far as these 3 assembly elections are concerned, it is all about the BJP working hard, but working hard much before the other party could even start off. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Neelam, for covering a lot of ground, and not just Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan, but also shedding some light on Chhattisgarh. May I now finally turn to Dr. Rahul Verma. He's going to sort of give the well on the overall national picture, but also maybe talk a little bit about Chhattisgarh, which was one state in the north where the Congress was tipped to win, even when the exit polls came out, but fell in short by a fairly sort of a large margin. Rahul.
Thank you, Dr. Sen and the ISAS team for inviting me. And it was a pleasure listening to all my co-panelists. What I'm going to do, as you pointed out, Dr. Sen, talk a little bit about Chhattisgarh and then basically talk both on BJP Congress and the emerging national picture. But let me begin with the exit polls first. I think you are absolutely right. Exit polls actually, most exit polls predicted Telangana in the right direction, which turned out to be the closest election in terms of vote share. There's hardly 2% difference between BRS and Congress. But most exit polls basically got Chhattisgarh wrong, where the vote share difference is larger. And perhaps everyone, as you rightly pointed out, was expecting either a straight Congress win or at least Congress edge in a sort of like a closely contested election. And perhaps this sort of like sentiment, I don't know why it was happening in the polls, but among political observers that Congress is going to sail through Chhattisgarh is because of the big victory it had in 2018. So since the creation of Telangana, the state had a very, very closely contested election. BJP won 2003, 8, 13 with a slender margin, both in terms of vote share as well as seat share. The differences used to be 1.5% in vote share and 2-3 seats here and there. So BJP used to get 45, 48, 49 kind of seats. And the gap last time between BJP and Congress in terms of vote share was around 10 percentage points, which is basically very, very large gap to be able to fill in the next election. And they had 68 seats in the assembly of 90. So everyone expected that, and Bhupesh Baghel, the incumbent chief minister, was popular. So the expectation was that even if Congress loses, they will still be able to cross the majority mark. When the results came out, we know what happened. BJP actually recorded its highest vote share and seat tally in state of Chhattisgarh since the creation of state. So it surpassed all expectations. And Neelam rightly touched upon certain points what has led to this victory in Chhattisgarh. But let me start with a general observation on Indian elections using the Chhattisgarh example. Is that, when you have sort of like very straight victories in terms of vote share lead being 4 or 5%, then the analysis of like granular data doesn't help us much, because all sort of like, whether you look at by sort of like caste, region, or you look at by gender, it's all tilted in one direction. In Madhya Pradesh, now there is no region where BJP did badly, right? All regions have become saffron. They led among the SCs, they led among the STs. Of course, you can look at, okay, where the gains were larger, right? So in fact, in Chhattisgarh, the gains were much larger in the general seats, but Neelam rightly pointed out that BJP, which used to do really badly in the Bastar Sarguja region, got 9 out of 12 seats in Bastar alone. So in that sense, what I'm trying to basically say, when you have 4-5 percentage point victories, most often all kinds of dissection of data leads in one direction. The big question is, why did Congress sort of like lost Madhya Pradesh? And of course, there is a complex array of factors, starting with, I think, complacency. Chhattisgarh leadership thought that since we have a 10 percentage point lead, we'll be able to win. And so what they didn't do is doing the extra legwork that was needed in the run-up to polls. And I would also like to make a point which links the 3 northern states. In every state, Congress has been able to hold on to its vote share of 2018. So in Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Congress vote share is same as what it was in 2018. But what BJP managed to do is basically get some swing from Congress, but a large swing from other parties. So last time in Chhattisgarh, you had Janhit Congress, which was led by the former Congressman Ajit Jogi, BSP, they had some 7.5% vote share. BSP had 4% vote share. So what I think happened in the run-up to the campaigns is that BJP was able to make a huge dent in these sort of like others. And so others, which were around 15, 16 percentage point in last election, got squeezed to 5.5 percentage point this time. And so large chunk of others is going their way. So that means that there is a lot of election management that's taking place on the ground. Now, that management could be just sort of like attracting those voters. That management could be basically buying off candidates or supplying them with some kind of things. All things must be happening, and people who cover this on the ground must have better information and knowledge on that. Second, I think some journalists who were traveling Chhattisgarh, and I think that's the case across every state, which is that while the CM faces, or the people who are in the run-up to become the CM, their popularity levels remain same, but there was heavy discontent or charges of corruption against local MLAs. So there was a lot of anti-incumbency against local MLAs. What BJP does, sometimes successfully and sometimes not, but more often they get it right compared to the Congress at the time. And this brings to me a structural point about Indian politics, which is that BJP replaces a lot of sitting MLAs, whereas Congress was not able to do so. And there are structural reasons. Congress central authority has become weaker compared to BJP. And so it's not easy to engineer those kind of changes which BJP manages to do. So local level anti-incumbency was very, very high. And apart from, there are basically now post-facto analysis that Congress government and Bhupesh Baghel had made lots of promises and they were not able to deliver, but that happens with all states in India. I think what's happening with the Congress party, and in some ways, at least in the 3 North Indian states, you can find a tinge of it, which is the factionalism at the top level, right? In Rajasthan, the Sachin Pilot versus Gehlot fight, in some ways, BJP didn't used to do well in the eastern part of Rajasthan, which is what you'll call it Gujjar belt. This time they did really, really well. And so it seems a segment of Gujjar voters were not happy with the decision not to make Sachin Pilot deputy CM. Similarly, there was a fight between, or sort of tussle between T.S. Singh Dev and CM Bhupesh Baghel in Chhattisgarh. Sindhya from, in Madhya Pradesh walked out, and BJP did well in the Gwalior Chambal region, which they hadn't done well last time. So in some ways, I'm not trying to make a point that, any of these things were detrimental to the losses, but all of it combined basically created a situation where if the campaign is well managed, then it can become sort of like surmountable. This now leads me to making a point about what the national picture looks like now. And of course, some of you may not agree with my reading of things. Basically, BJP just didn't win these 3 states. They swept, right? And that basically means something about 2024. Last time, Congress had won or formed government in all 3 states, yet they got hammered during the national elections. And in these states, they were not able to pick up more than 2 or 3 seats. Now, BJP winning, and winning big, basically creates a very, very difficult situation for the Congress in 2024. My second point is related to why this happens. To me, Congress basically misreads elections, especially both its defeats, but much more its victories. Let me give you an example of recently held Karnataka elections. So in Karnataka, Congress won because of and this applies to Telangana as well. The state government in Karnataka, the BJP government in Karnataka was not very popular. Their governance record was average or below average, massive charges of corruption. Congress machinery in Karnataka is as agile as BJP. they had a more popular CM face than the BJP CM face, and they had a wider social and geographical base in Karnataka. But the Congress sort of strategists or PR managers kept on sort of like harping this point that the 5 guarantees and the Bharat Jodo Yatra did all the trick, and BJP's ideological sort of like plank or PM Modi has no appeal in that part. And they overread that verdict and they thought they could extrapolate it everywhere. So they started talking about the national model emanating from Karnataka without realizing the sort of like strength of the opponents in the Hindi belt. In the Hindi belt, BJP's ideological narrative has much more appeal. It has a wider social base. When BJP wins Rajasthan, despite this revolving door policy, BJP wins really, really big. When Congress wins Rajasthan, they barely managed to touch the majority mark. Last time they came to power, but they had only 96 seats in the House of 200. When BJP had won in 2013, they had 150 seats or odd, right? So it's similarly in Rajasthan, BJP had not lost 54 seats in a House of 200 in last 3 elections. In Madhya Pradesh, that number is around 75. So because of the penetration of BJP in some of the North Indian states at sort of like ground level, the replication of Karnataka model is much, much harder. And so now, given what we saw happening in the Hindi belt, and to be honest, I was fairly surprised by the extent of BJP's success. It wasn't on the cards. No one has forewarned us that this is what is going to happen. Given this, I think the odds of BJP now coming back to power in 2024 has gone very, very high. They were always the favorite given the electoral sort of arithmetic at this point of time. But Congress losing these 3 states has just changed the nature of probabilities in favor of BJP really, really high. I'm not saying they'll win. Anything can happen in elections, but the odds have just increased that now they're losing would be a very big news. In some ways, this also cast a deep shadow on India Alliance. Even before the India Alliance's campaign could begin for 2024, I think there are big question marks. They had done some tremendous work earlier during the summer. I think there were a lot of progress that was made, good and positive momentum was coming out of it. But Congress's own sort of like, misreading of things where they did not take allies on board. I'm not saying if SP, BSP or AAP had contested with Congress, the situation could have been reversed. But at least now, by not taking them on board, any kind of conversation or negotiation in the run-up to 2024 is going to be very, very difficult for the Congress, especially that now they have lost these elections. So now there are 3 questions on the India Alliance's future. First, whether we are going to have an alliance with the parties that were talking. Second, even if we have an alliance, are we going to get the seat sharing formula which many people were hoping that it would be one-on-one contest everywhere? Third, even if the alliance gets formed and they contest, are they in a position to put a formidable challenge to the BJP? And to all 3 questions, my answer would be sort of like slightly no in the direction, because odds have just increased against anything like that happening. Third, and with that I'll stop, is I think the problem with the national picture is not just the arithmetic part, but Congress does not have a narrative or ideological message in the run-up to 2024, and leadership and everything is tied to it. I don't know, they keep on picking up issues without realizing that they can't simply own those issues everywhere. So, for example, Congress thought that they could make or own the issue of social justice in North India by simply talking about the caste census. The problem, historically, Congress has not seen a party of backward caste in North India. Second, by trying to own up that issue, they would have at least given some jitters to parties like Samajwadi Party and RJD. They don't want to lose that narrative of social justice and backward caste politics to Congress. And third, this was just an empty talk. If you want to have a serious sort of like mobilizational potential on this issue, you should have allocated more nominations to backward caste in Madhya Pradesh or Rajasthan or Chhattisgarh. BJP gave as many tickets to OBCs as Congress gave. So when they are talking about some of these issues, my fear is that Congress is trying to actually convert the converted. And not actually thinking about the additional votes that it can get. So all of this in some ways basically indicate that the road to 2024, which is your title, is now has been narrowed in favor of BJP. And I wouldn't be surprised if, they have a fairly sort of like easy contest in comparison to what it seemed like a few months back. The nature of victories in some of these states are going to hurt Congress for a very, very long time, especially in places like Madhya Pradesh. Your second generation leadership is already gone, and your first generation is now too old to contest the next election. And so something like that. Now, Madhya Pradesh basically resembles all signs of a dominant party state, much like Bengal or Gujarat. And if Congress keeps on losing states like this, any chance of short-term revival is very, very difficult. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Vijay.
Thank you, Rahul, for not just shedding some light on the Chhattisgarh verdict, which was, as you mentioned, somewhat unexpected, but also looking at the vis-a-vis the 2020 election. So I'll just ask the members of the audience, you can send your questions through the Q&A function, and we already have, I think, a couple coming in. But before I turn to that, maybe I'll just pose, one question, sort of taking off from Rahul's presentation to sort of all the panelists. So of course, I think we are all agreed on that, the elections, at least the election results, at least in the Hindi belt or the Hindi heartland, call it what you will, shows that, the BJP anyway was, I think, even before the elections, favorite going into 2024. This sort of cements that position. But to sort of pose a sort of additional question, what we've seen, in 2014 and more so in 2019 is, the BJP sort of maxing out in the states that they're strong in, right? In North India, there's, so for instance, if you look at Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, and Rajasthan, if I've got the numbers right, I think they won 62 out of 65 seats. So you can't really do much better than that, right? In UP, again, they won a majority of the seats. So having said that, so if we sort of, go beyond the heartland, if we sort of now say that the heartland or the Hindi belt is, for all, and as you said, nothing is a given in Indian politics, but the BJP is, definitely ahead. Do you see in the rest of India, in South India, East India, do you see the BJP making, further gains compared to, say, 2019? Or do you see sort of the regional parties as well as the Congress, given the Congress's, strong showing in two states in South India, at least sort of fighting back in the sort of non-Hindi belt areas? And I'll ask any of you or all of you to sort of, address the maybe I'll turn to Kailash. I know you've been elsewhere as well as in this discussion that actually the BJP, did quite well in Telangana, right? Both in terms of increasing its vote share as well. So Telangana, like Karnataka, are two states where the BJP can actually do reasonably well in the coming elections. So maybe could you sort of address that issue, whether the BJP can actually do better in the non sort of Hindi belt in 2024 compared to 2019?
Okay, so let's look at the 4 states in the south, that is Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, and Andhra Pradesh and Telangana also, of course. So I think the BJP will probably do much better in Karnataka, Telangana, and Andhra. I expect that they would do much better. But I think the two places where they are going to find it difficult would be Kerala and Tamil Nadu for different reasons. The sort of rhetoric and the sort of argument that the BJP makes doesn't fit well with Tamil Nadu. But it is not that the BJP has not given up. It has, in spite of it having no chance, it has made great effort in the state of Tamil Nadu. If you look at the whole issue of having this Kashi Tamil Nadu sort of connection and the whole issue of having Annamalai as the BJP chief there, I think they've been putting tremendous amount of work to make an effort. So that's what I think distinguishes the Congress from the BJP. The BJP slogs it even if it doesn't see any victory in sight or anything coming in the near future, it will continue to work. That is not something that the Congress does. As Rahul himself mentioned, the Congress just moves from one point to another point, thinking that it has done well. So I think the BJP's effort in Tamil Nadu will continue. I don't know how far it will succeed, but it is working there. But I think it will consolidate in Telangana definitely. I think it will do well in the 24 Lok Sabha elections. Yeah, and Karnataka too. I think it will continue to make gains there as well.
Right. Neelam, any
Yeah,
thoughts?
I just wanted to add something that Professor Kailash has already talked about. I mean, I'm just giving a small anecdote to explain what I'm trying to say. There was a national executive of the BJP that was held in Hyderabad a few years back. And one of the things that emerged from there, which Prime Minister Narendra Modi talked about, was the outreach, the Kerala outreach. And he really wanted the BJP to focus on Kerala. And since then, right from sending a group of party workers from the northeast states to Kerala, to ensuring Mr. Javadekar being made the in charge of Kerala, to hosting a number of events in Kerala despite not doing well electorally, I think that is what the BJP is going to focus on. Whether it is able to get anything out of Kerala or not, their focus is on cementing their presence in these states. So, as the professor said, that they might do well in Karnataka, Telangana, and Karnataka, and it is their presence in these states which is what they are trying to focus on. The inroads that they will make in these states as far as 2024 elections are concerned, and I think this is what sort of sets them apart. That it doesn't matter, the gains in terms of votes, but how is it that the party is trying to reach out to the voters, and then the voter also is able to sort of gauge that this party is here to stay.
Right. Rahul, on broadly whether the BJP can not only sort of equal its sort of seat tally, and I know predictions are hazardous from 2019, but actually increase it further. On the back.
Predictions are hazardous, but by nature, humans are always predictive. So I'm happy to put my neck on the line. See, it doesn't matter if BJP doesn't make any new gains. Even if they retain, they will be back in power, right? So, so that's the first point. Second, see, everything depends on BJP's ability to make this election national in character. If election becomes national in character, then you don't know where they are going to pick up seats. Maybe in Tamil Nadu, as Kailash is mentioning, or in Kerala, as Neelam is mentioning. Then, the normal sort of like vagaries of state politics won't operate. Who had expected BJP to get 4 seats in Telangana in 2019 or 18 seats in West Bengal in 2019? Because once the election acquired that kind of character, then it doesn't matter where the additional seats are coming from. For BJP's own ability to come back, it has to sweep Northwest. If it continues to consolidate its Northwest region, then it would be basically in striking distance of power.
Right. Maybe I just also, ask Rasante to chip in, vis-a-vis not, I know Mizoram, these are small states if you look at the sort of Lok Sabha picture, but any sort of comments on the BJP's footprint in the Northeast, which of course, as we know, has been expanding. would you sort of the election for 2024 vis-a-vis the Northeast and the BJP's footprint?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So so I can speak from the context of the recent elections again. Of course, like we're looking at 2024 Lok Sabha elections, and I think Northeast as a whole has always been framed from a national security perspective. For as long as India has been independent, and there's a lot of misunderstanding about the region's ethnic dynamics or its culture and its political character. But the thing is, if we look at Nagaland or Meghalaya, which are very similar to Mizoram, they already BJP has already been a part of formation of the government in these two states, which are also Christian majority, and in the rest of except Sikkim, BJP is ruling in Manipur and Assam, and we have seen these increased stature of BJP under Modi government, and so Mizoram might be a standalone regional unit in this region that has managed to maintain its regional character with the now emergence of ZPM as the ruling government. And even then, even MNF's downfall, in a way, in this election was attributed in part to its quite tricky, alliance with the BJP through NEDA, and there is a growing skepticism, like within Mizoram, there has been a growing apprehensions, towards BJP's policies towards minorities, and the kind of fate that the Mizo Christians or the Christian tribals might face under a prolonged BJP rule, due to their very strong standing in the parliament and the rapid passing of many so-called legislations which are perceived as anti-minorities. So for Mizoram, I think the path is clear now, but I think other states, I don't know if the Mizoram example would be replicated in other states, in their coming elections. And I can't, definitively speak for the other Northeast states, but I think looking at the situation in Manipur, for example, it seems it appears like BJP is here to stay. But in Mizoram, again, I just want to mention that in this election, BJP won 2 constituencies in the southern extremities, in the Mara areas. This is autonomous district council area, and the 2 candidates who won in BJP tickets, for example, I think it's not so much about BJP's victory as a party, but it's more about the victory of the 2 candidates who were once ousted, who were once a part of MNF and Congress. The Mara MDC, they left Congress, and then afterwards the one very prominent Mara leader left MNF again because of some internal tussle with the, I think, party leadership. So he again stood in BJP's ticket and he got elected. So I think it's more of his personal victory than BJP's victory. And but yes, they have managed to make inroads and have footprint, but it will not I think enhance their party stature in Mizoram in the coming days per se, if ZPM continues with its regional party character and maintain a level of autonomy and independence that they have vowed to maintain. Yeah.
Right. Okay. There is a different set of dynamics, in the Northeast, and particularly Mizoram, compared to the sort of Hindi belt. So before I turn to the the audience question, another sort of question directed to possibly all the panelists, sort of the perennial question of the impact of Prime Minister Narendra Modi on these results. Of course, as we saw, somewhat unusually, I think in all the 3 states that the BJP won in Hindi belt, as Neelam mentioned, there were none of them actually projected a chief ministerial face, right? So all of them went without a chief ministerial face. The emphasis was on team play, team, sort of, getting together all the warring factions, etc. And Prime Minister Modi was kind of the cement that sort of glued the campaign in a way. So could you sort of, maybe we can start with Neelam, sort of address the impact, which is of course very, it's not easy to gauge sort of statistically or mathematically, but sort of sense.
I'll start with Madhya Pradesh. In Madhya Pradesh, many were, for the past at least 1.5 years, we had been hearing that Shivraj Singh Chauhan would not be the face of the election campaign. And many were expecting that he would be changed before that, but nothing of that sort happened. After that, we noticed that there was a shift in the BJP strategy where, right from the jingles, election songs, they started talking about Modi as the face of the campaign. So right from MP ke man mein Modi and Modi ke man mein MP, that, MP is in the heart of PM Modi, we started looking at a campaign which was completely based on the charisma of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. So, I mean, apart from the Ladli Behan scheme, which obviously we have to credit it to Shivraj Singh Chauhan, if the campaign talked about anything else, it was what Prime Minister Narendra Modi had done from 2014 till 2019 and the impact of the double engine government. So something which they said was missing in Rajasthan and Chhattisgarh, and they wanted to highlight Madhya Pradesh as a model where things were taking place, where policy decisions could be taken, because at the center we had Prime Minister Narendra Modi. And as far as his public rallies and addresses and roadshows are concerned, I mean, I would not say that crowd is an indicator of, how well one may do in terms of elections, but the kind of the crowd that we saw at these rallies and roadshow is something unprecedented, as far as the one which I attended in Jaipur and in Bhopal. So I would say that the idea was very clear that the kind of image Prime Minister Narendra Modi has, especially among the women voters, they really felt that clubbed with the Ladli Behna scheme, it could really help the BJP in these assembly elections.
Right. Any thoughts from the others on Prime Minister Modi, the impact, and especially I think there is now also growing evidence of the connect between Prime Minister Modi and women voters in general, not just the states we are looking at, but nationally. No, okay, no, there are no further thoughts on that. I think there are a couple of questions that have come in from the audience. One is something that I talked about a little bit, is the role of the Adivasi or tribal voters in the last set of elections, and what kind of role might that sort of play in the coming general elections. Any thoughts on that? Neelam, do you want to?
Yeah, I would just like to talk about the fact that, everyone is talking about the tribal vote, but, BJP has focused on the tribal community since, I would say, even 2014. And apart from that, right from the appointment of the President Draupadi Murmu, the BJP has shown that a symbol of, empowerment. And soon after she was appointed, several programs were organized across the country, especially in tribal areas, to talk about this is the kind of this is what BJP does with the tribal community. This is the kind of what should I say, importance that it accords to the tribal community. At the same time, if you remember that, while the elections were on in these 3 states, Prime Minister's program, I think it was held in Jharkhand. It was the birth anniversary of I think Birsa Munda. So that was again very symbolic. This is not something that he has done it for the first time. Even last year, a similar program took place in Rajasthan, and the idea was to reach out not only to Rajasthan but at the same time Madhya Pradesh too. So I would say that apart from this symbolic gesture, it has also, as I said earlier, done a lot in terms of policy decisions. So you have Eklavya residential schools, you have as I pointed out earlier, when there was protest against the Uniform Civil Code, BJP was quick to react. So while, when we are talking about the Congress and the caste-based census demand that Rahul Gandhi has been fiercely talking about, it seems to show that, it has not had much impact in the Hindi heartland. But will Congress be, now will it say that, it should go back on that demand or not, is something that we feel that BJP is very quick to react to what the voters want compared to Congress.
Right. Anyone else? Any thoughts on the sort of the other? Of course, the ST question is quite different in the Northeast as compared to because of the religious component, but as compared to Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh. In fact, in Chhattisgarh, I think one of the things was that the ST constituency is not in the last election. The one before that actually had sort of heavily backed the BJP. In a sense, they've sort of gone back to the BJP after having sort of switched sides in the last election. Rahul, do you have an intervention? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Also, joining with the first question. See, of course, Prime Minister Modi at the helm of BJP is one of the biggest vote aggregators we have seen in modern Indian politics. But some of the sort of benefits that BJP is drawing now is part of a work that has been happening for a very, very long time. So both the gains, for example, BJP is now making among Dalits, SCs as well as STs, especially in the central India and North India, is part of a larger work program that RSS had initiated since 1990s. And you have this very, very fascinating findings and work by Tariq Thachel on this, how BJP mobilized these two communities. So, in 2018, BJP's vote share among the tribals and Dalits in these three states had gone down. And they had gone down largely owing to the sort of protest and dilutions of the SC/ST Act at that point of time. There were a lot of issues of flogging of Dalit youth and tribal youth. So there was that sort of atmosphere in which that vote share went down, and it has now picked up. Again, back to the previous sort of point. But overall, what has been happening both among Dalits and tribals, BJP has been making serious gains. So this party among Dalits in North India used to get around 12 to 13 percentage points till 2013. In 2014, it became 24% point among Dalits, and in 2019, it became 33 percentage point. And most likely in 2024, it will sort of even cross that barrier. Same is happening with STs. So there is a serious sort of upward change for BJP among these communities. BJP could not have been winning, and that's why I made that first point. Once you start winning this big, you are winning big in every community. See what's happening for BJP, because there is a counter consolidation among Muslims taking place, and in place like UP, Muslims are around 18 to 20% of the population, and in every place there's a significant chunk, meaning that BJP has to draw a really, really large proportion of votes among the backwards and Dalits and tribals to be able to touch 45, 48% mark, right? So without that kind of swing, we wouldn't have been seeing this kind of result. And so I don't want to attribute this to just PM's charisma, just welfare schemes, or mistakes that's Congress making. There is large, substantive work that has been gone into mobilizing these communities for many decades. And now, basically, the current BJP is reaping benefits of that long-term mobilization. So we should not discount the historical and structural factors in politics.
Yeah, the organization of the BJP and the outreach, which has actually been happening for actually several years. It predates, the current regime for sure. Of course, we have a couple of questions coming in on sort of some of the perennials of Indian politics. One is, something that had come up in the discussion earlier, the question of the caste census. The question is, will the Congress now sort of take a step back from its position on the caste census, given that it does not seem to have sort of worked amongst the voters, especially in the states that we are discussing today? Any thoughts on that, on the Congress position on the caste census? Neelam, any?
I would just like to talk about the fact that Rahul said that, the impact it will have on India alliance, the fact that the Congress has lost these 3 states. And we've started seeing the impact in terms of, today itself, one of these Samajwadi Party spokesperson has said that, they will only be able to give 2 seats to the Congress in Uttar Pradesh. So when we are talking about, how all of these regional parties would like to have a greater say as far as the India alliance is concerned, and having that as the backdrop, I don't think that this issue is something. I will not say that it will back out or it will change its position, the Congress, on the caste census, but it might not be that vigorous or fierce about it the way it has been. But this is something that we just feel right now. We don't know how. I mean, the 2024 elections are still a few months away. So what kind of changes that will take place would also determine whether the Congress will be as fierce in its demand for a caste census or not. And we have to look at important factors like RJD, JDU, Samajwadi Party. They will also have a bigger say in that.
Right. It's
all of this depends on what lessons Congress draws from these defeats.
Right.
If Congress thinks, and the kind of analysis Congress is coming out with of North Indian voters versus South Indian voters, and BJP wins because of Hindutva and PM Modi and welfare schemes, Congress will continue to think that caste census has resonance, and they may still go ahead with it. So it all depends on how Congress reads these victories and who Congress is listening to.
Right, but as Rahul mentioned earlier, I think this is really a question of stepping into the turf of, the caste-based or the social justice parties, which the Congress might have erred in doing so. But it depends on what lessons Congress chooses to draw from the results. I think we have time. We're almost out of time, but we have a final question again. This is specifically addressed to Neelam, but the others are welcome to step in. This is regarding Muslim voting patterns, and if there have been any sort of changes in that pattern in Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh, and more specific question: has the BJP managed to gain amongst Muslims, given its appeal specifically to the Pasmanda Muslims?
Well, I'll be very honest. I have not looked at Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan, especially from the Muslim voters' point of view. But I'll just give a small example of the municipal elections that took place in Delhi. This is all after the Pasmanda appeal by the Prime Minister as well as the BJP. All the candidates that they had fielded, even at the municipal level, all of them lost the election. So I think it will be very, very naive to think that the Pasmanda appeal will completely translate into votes. It may or it may not, depending on, how a Muslim voter will look at the Lok Sabha election, because the dynamics for assembly, municipal and national elections are quite different. We have heard a number of analyses where triple talaq had led to a lot of women voters, Muslim women voters voting for the BJP. But this is all, I would say, this is not something that you can attribute it to official numbers that you can determine it officially. Yeah.
Any thoughts, Rahul, on that question vis-a-vis UP, which is of course your...
No, I agree with Neelam. It's actually hard to study this question for a variety of reasons. Muslims, even if they had voted for BJP, they would not confess to a journalist or in surveys because there are going to be people from your community around it, and it would be seen sort of like not siding with the community. In fact, the survey data, not just since like in last 4 or 5 years across India, is pointing out counter consolidation of Muslims. So earlier, Muslim vote bloc didn't exist as we used to talk about, right? Muslim vote used to go 40, 50, 60% to one party and then fragmented. In fact, what seems to be happening now is that a consolidation of Muslim vote in favor of one party. It's TMC in Bengal, it's SP in UP, Congress in these 3 states. And now the consolidation is up to 85 to 90% of votes.
All right. I think we are absolutely out of time, but maybe a minute each to Kailash and Samte to maybe have sort of final words, if you will. Who wants to go first? Samte, do you want to sort of say something as a sort of summing up before we end, or would you just prefer that I?
Yeah. So
Okay.
just to.
Okay. You can go ahead. I'll be the last.
Okay, Kailash, why don't you go ahead? Yeah.
Yeah. So just to push Rahul's point a bit further, is that the BJP also, I think, has changed over a period of time, like from 2014 to 2023. There's a big difference that has happened. A party which was very flexible and had more space for regional leaders, that has sort of changed. It has become more centralized over a period of time. So I think the question also then happens, question that we need to think about, or the party will be thinking about, is what happens after Modi, because they seem to be putting everything on Modi. It means he's being used as the face of the party. So somewhere I think we will see a change in the coming years. We might see a new leader coming up, or something. There will be some churn that is happening there in the party.
Right. What after the great leader question? I think that's interesting and a difficult one to answer. And Samte, final words.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So with regard to Mizoram also, the most fascinating aspect of the latest election was that both the regional parties and the 2 national parties were in the fray. And even though BJP is not seen as a real contender in Mizoram, except in minority areas, but the fact that the Mizoram BJP has made all-out efforts, and they were quite focused on winning the few constituencies that they contested. It's, I think, very interesting to see. But of course, regionalism is alive and kicking in Mizoram, and I think it will be like this for quite some time. And I think this very renewed regional outlook is also to do with the growing discontentment and apprehension about being sucked into the larger nationalist agendas of the BJP, the ruling BJP. And the Congress, I think, is the biggest loser here in the context of Mizoram, because unlike BJP, the Congress has been able to form majority governments in the state, but they have a very reduced vote share in the recent election, and I think it will take a long time for them to recoup and to be able to make a comeback in the state. Yeah.
Right. Okay. On that note, I think.
Sorry, I would just like to add something, because considering I made this statement, I was talking about when I said that Samajwadi Party, as part of the India bloc, it is planning to give only 2 seats to the Congress. I'm just saying that the leaders are talking about it. I mean, a decision has to be taken. So I just wanted to qualify that the Samajwadi Party is yet to decide. But, all of these spokespersons keep coming up with their statements. And one of them is that they want to just give 2 seats to them. Just
noises being made, yeah, currently.
Yes.
Okay, on that note, I think we have to draw this discussion to a close. Thank you once again to all the participants for taking the time to take part in this panel discussion, and thanks to the members of the audience. Many of them have sort of stuck around for 1.5 hours. On that note, could we have a round of virtual applause? And thank you once again.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye bye. Thank you.